Marco from Feel Like an Athlete here with another video of the week. And in this week's video, I'm going to be talking about flexible dieting, also known as if it fits your macros. A question that I've got from a friend of mine who's asked what my thoughts are and kind of how and if that approach is done with Feel Like an Athlete. And I think before I get into, the topic and what I want to speak about, I'll give you guys a little bit of an understanding in regards to what does flexible dieting mean. So flexible dieting is where the person who's doing flexible dieting really only has to worry about hitting their or tracking their macronutrient requirements. So they've got a certain amount of protein, a certain amount of carbs, a certain amount of fat that they need to eat and they need to get in for the day. That's it. Other than that, it's pretty much a free-for-all. So they can have whatever types of foods that they like, as long as they're hitting and they're achieving those macros or those numbers for the day. So flexible dieting, you still have to count macros and count calories. So do I agree with the approach? I think it will work for some people, but probably not for most. It is, counting calories and counting macros is not something that Feel Like an Athlete does. We're a lot more of a kind of a slow burning process where you need to have more of an understanding of your body and look at just kind of following a couple of simple basic rules in regards to your nutrition. But I won't get into that in that video about what we do. It's more so I want to, talk about the topic of flexible dieting. So it's basically, like I said, a bit of a free-for-all, a bit of a shit show after or if you can hit your numbers for the day. And what do I mean by that? So when we talk about like flexible dieting, a person doesn't really have to follow any other basic nutrition rules except for those numbers. So they can literally go and eat the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But as let's just say, as an example, someone really likes bacon and sausages. I've used this example for another reason, but that's where they're going to get all their protein and some fat in for the day. And at the end of the day, they've hit their protein, they've hit their fat. A large majority of the protein and fat has come from bacon and sausages. And we know that they are not the healthiest and most nutritious food sources. But that's okay because they're a flexible dieter, right? And if they're achieving those numbers, and depending on what their goals are, if they're trying to lose weight, then the macros and the total calorie count by the end of the day they should be kind of under the energy that they've burnt for the day, so in like a deficit. They're going to be losing weight. Are they going to be a healthier person? Is their body composition going to change depending on what their goals are? Maybe, maybe not. If they might only hit, they might get all their carbohydrate sources or the carbohydrate macros from like breads and pastas and rice, right? And then so for that day, that motherfucker's had sorry about the swearing. That person has had sausages, bacon, bread, and rice, and I don't know, some fat here and there, and they've hit their macronutrients for the day. Now you tell me if that person follows that for like 2 to 3 weeks, they might lose weight, but they're not going to be a healthier individual. Their body, you cannot hack your own physiology. The body is going to be run down. It's going to be deficient in a lot of vitamins and minerals that you get from good food, from plants, nuts and seeds, vegetables, fruits and stuff, right? The person could get all their carbohydrates from fruit. They're still going to have issues. They might have issues with bloating. They might start putting a lot of the fat on around their stomach, even though they're losing weight. If you guys have seen that sugar film, the dude, like obviously the focus of that film is sugar, but the dude's, he doesn't like overeat. He sticks to a certain number, but his body, the way his body looks at the end of it is terrible. He looks like he's aged 10 years. So there is no focus on nutrition or nutritious foods. That's probably the biggest one. I'm not a prep coach, so I don't prep people for competition. I'm more of like a health and fitness coach. So, and same with Feel Like an Athlete. We don't really work with people who are preparing for competitions and stuff, because long term, that person is worse off. That is another topic to talk about. Nutrition is all about balance. Flexible dieting I wouldn't call that balance. That is skewed one way to one kind of side of the nutrition curve, right? Where people can kind of do whatever they want as long as they hit those macronutrients numbers. And like I said, some people are going to probably achieve the results they want to achieve. Is it going to be good for them long term? Probably not. And here are some examples. So Let's say someone hits their macros for the day, but they've eaten like a shitload of sugar to get there. Like, and you'll see people on Instagram, these people with lots and lots of followers, they'll post like photos of like donuts and ice cream, saying that they've got to get the last minute macros in, right? We know that sugar increases the risk of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, affects your energy levels, all this stuff. So you can't hack your own physiology. That's going to catch up with you. Let's go back to the protein example, which is why I used it. Someone who eats a lot of bacon, a lot of sausage, right? A lot of stuff that's really, really high in sodium. Sodium can lead to someone becoming super, super dehydrated. They can have, then that can lead to issues with your kidneys. So these are the reasons why I'm not a massive fan of flexible dieting, because unless that person has an understanding of nutrition and like the right foods and the wrong foods to eat, it's not a good idea. You can also, that person is still flexible dieting. You're still always tracking. So I don't think that's very flexible. You're always getting out the app, putting in your numbers, making sure that you're not overdoing it for the day. I don't think that's very flexible. Flexible is when you have an understanding of your body. You know your hunger cues. You know the days that you can eat a little bit more, the days that you shouldn't be eating a little bit. You shouldn't be eating as much. Actually understanding what real hunger feels like versus opening up an app and seeing, oh, I'm not hungry, but I need to eat. That's a more flexible approach, and that's a lot more long term, and that's a lot more sustainable, and that's what we do at Feel Like an Athlete. So I guess that's my answer to flexible dieting. Don't really agree with it. I don't agree with the whole macro and the calorie counting thing, unless, like I said, you want to step on stage or you've got specific, it's a specific reason. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed and have a good day. Thanks.